I'm a big, actually, Helen Keller fan. I really admire her life and just sort of the challenges that she faced and what she overcame to really contribute and to be a force for good in society. She said that character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved.
Welcome to the Career Nation Show, where you learn the strategies and tools to own and drive your career. Find out more at careertiger.com.
Hey, Career Nation, welcome back to the show. Today, we have a very special guest. He has been a leader in major tech companies. He's a LinkedIn Power Profile, and he's also worked internationally, and has recently transitioned from large tech to SaaS startups. Please welcome Greg Fox. Greg, welcome to the show.
Abhijit, great to be here. Great to be with you and Career Nation. It's a real privilege and pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Greg, why don't we dive into your career journey, which is like you've done so many different things. Give us a thumbnail, give us a kind of paint a picture for us. How's been your career journey thus far?
Absolutely. So I started in computer science. I really was fascinated by computer science. That was my major in college, so I learned how to program on the 68,000 assembly for the Macintosh, and developed kind of WordPerfect for Mac, which was an amazing product. But then I felt like I didn't want to be stuck in or pigeonhole into software development or software engineering. And I was really intrigued by economics and political science. So actually my major shifted to economics with a minor in political science and Spanish, actually. Eventually I got my master's, my MBA at the Marriott School at Brigham Young University. And then following that, I joined Compaq Computer in Houston, Texas in product management, working for the CEO. No, I didn't work directly for the CEO, but this is when Eckhard Pfeiffer was the CEO of Compaq Computer. And then about 3 or 4 years there, made a transition to Novell. This is when Eric Schmidt was the CEO of Novell. So I was really interested in partnering, how do partners go to market together, for companies as they build products, how do they take them to market through partners. So I was director of partner marketing at Novell for a few years. And then my friend introduced me to this great company called Cisco Systems. And I knew a lot about the iconic John Chambers, who was the CEO. Their alliances and corporate business development group was growing and expanding. They needed someone to come in and look at their enterprise business and also how to better partner with enterprise companies. And so I became CMO of the Alliance marketing organization, and then did a few roles in channels and so forth for about 13 years with Cisco. Just an amazing time and a great company, an era in working, with John Chambers and other great leaders there. And then interestingly, Citrix really was trying to look at how do they do their ISV partner program. And so I was introduced to Citrix just down the street in Santa Clara, led the ISV partner program for about 3 years. And then my journey took a path to China. I was introduced to Huawei through the Association of Strategic Alliance Professionals, which I was an advisory board member, a member of the board of directors. Their executives were investigating alliances and ecosystems and trying to figure out how do they formalize a program. And so I was introduced to them. They asked me if I'd be willing to relocate to China, to Shenzhen. And sure enough, I led the Strategic Alliances organization for a couple of years, then transitioned into corporate marketing and brand strategy. And then WorkSpan, I was always looking at WorkSpan as a potential platform for how you better operationalize partners and alliances. So I was introduced to WorkSpan while I was at Huawei, was really intrigued by the business model, and was introduced to some of their executives. And sure enough, the timing was right for me to make a move back to the US after about 3.5 years in China. and WorkSpan hired me to come initially to look after the Alliance ACES community, but then my role has expanded to really look at kind of a general management role, looking at our communications and networking business, but also VP of Alliances because we have a partner program, but also still looking after the Alliance ACES community at WorkSpan. So it's been it's always been a dream of mine to, join a startup. And I didn't do it early on in my career, but I'm doing it late in my career, and I'm really happy to be at WorkSpan today.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it's great to hear the transition from being at Compact, product management, into alliances, partnerships at Cisco, Novell, Citrix,
Yep.
Huawei, and now at WorkSpan, which is sort of like super exciting and working in a familiar space, which is partnership and alliances.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question on partnership and alliances, and then we'll go to
Yes.
WorkSpan.
Yeah.
Traditionally partners are thought of as resellers. Hey, I'm going to sell through the channel. And they've had that reseller role over a period of time. They've also become sort of value-added partners, and they basically create solutions on top of sort of vendor technologies. And now you've got alliances. So tell us a little bit about this world of partners and alliances. Is it like everybody gives each other a group hug, or is like what happens in partners and alliances?
Well, it's interesting that, no company goes to market alone, I would say, right? Either you're kind of building products yourselves, you're acquiring companies to fill the gaps, or you need to partner with other companies to complement your offers in terms of how you serve customers. So no companies are, going to market alone. They're, you have to work with, partners of all different types, whether it's a system integrator or a channel partner or a cloud provider, that really sort of complement your entire, go to market or route to market to be able to serve those customers. And so, and research has shown that companies that adopt this, ecosystem model actually grow faster than companies that don't. And they're more profitable, and they do, business better, and they serve customers better. So it's not just about the reseller channel relationship, it's about the holistic, partnering model, working with partners across the value chain to be able to better serve customers, and being able to orchestrate that motion with those partners is critical for a company to really be successful in the partnering world. It can be, most partnerships fail. Those companies that do it well really see the tangible ROI and great results in terms of customer satisfaction, being able to develop and bring solutions faster to market, being able to really, show alliance contribution to sales, opportunities and sales pursuits, et cetera. So I think even though some of the research says these are hard and difficult, companies that do it well and are able to see the tangible benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
yeah.
That's great. And so Greg, so there's a lot of value that gets created through channel partnerships, alliances. They help to scale from a sales standpoint,
Yep.
as well as create more value for customers. And that's great. It creates a really good go-to-market. And so that's the partnership and alliances sort of world or domain. How is WorkSpan working in this space? What is it trying to do? How is it trying to create value in this space?
Yep. So what we say at WorkSpan is that we're kind of completely reimagining how companies go to market together. So for the first time, we call this, WorkSpan Ecosystem Cloud. And this is a new category. Ecosystem Cloud has been recognized as a new category in the market by Gartner, by others. And so, for the first time, companies can now, with their partners, build with, market with, and sell with. And they can grow their business and create abundance together in a single secure, cloud-based network. So that's kind of the value proposition that WorkSpan offers. And so there's, traditionally companies have, had their own sort of ways in which they partner, their own processes. They look at, they're maybe using spreadsheets or emails to exchange information with one another. they can't track performance with those partners.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that happens at the year end when they're trying to do a QBR or a business review. Developing a joint solution often takes 6 to 9 months. Deal registration is like a black box. Joint planning is a long exercise. Joint execution in the field is very hard and difficult. Getting the sales teams aligned around incentives and motions is important. And so, a lot of these companies are using traditional tools, and they have to do this manually through spreadsheets. Partners have their process. We may have our own process, but now with WorkSpan, you're able to, operationalize and have like a single shared system of record that can be used by their partners in the ecosystems, giving them joint visibility to the projects that they're managing, to be able to ideate on joint solutions, collaborate on joint opportunities, even pre-pipeline opportunities before they're accepted in the field by sales. It integrates well with existing PRM tools and also CRM tools. And so this single kind of system of record allows companies to better manage those motions with their partners in terms of how they serve customers.
Great. It sounds like the evolution of sort of partner management and partner space in terms of how do you define solutions, market them, sell them together. And it sounds like it will certainly provide a lot of acceleration and efficiency in this space.
Yes.
From a Career Nation standpoint, Greg, what are sort of the career opportunities in this space as you look at the evolution of channels and partnerships and alliances? What type of careers are coming up in this area?
There's a lot of different careers, I would say. There may be an alliance manager that's managing a single, relationship for a company, or someone that manages, the solution portfolio with the business units and a partner or a set of partners. Could be someone that would manage the marketing, the marketing campaigns or the marketing development funds in terms of how they execute and use those funds to accelerate, sales opportunities in the field. It could be someone that manages an overall portfolio of partners within a program for a company. It could be, someone that's in operations, right? Someone needs to operationalize, these motions with their partners, keep track and measure and report on success and report, et cetera. So the operational aspect is really important. And then I would say, companies like with WorkSpan, we have like a network success team that actually helps implement. So you need sort of implementers of, solutions like Ecosystem Cloud to help companies, really see that time to value, realized, over 60 to 90 days, to help them get up and running, to help them overcome change management or implement new kinds of tools or capabilities in their organization. So sometimes that's a little bit complex and there's a little bit of resistance to change, but those kinds of careers, I would say, are really, I think in ecosystems, in alliances, this is going to continue to be sort of a thriving business, and the career opportunities are endless. In fact, on our Alliance ACES community, which we host, we actually post a lot of the jobs that alliance managers may be interested in, and the different roles from different companies in the tech industry are featured there. And so,
absolutely. That's great. And that's fantastic to hear because, as technology becomes more interoperable, you've got more APIs, more sort of companies and vendors sort of coming together. For example, Microsoft has made a 180 degree in terms of how to work with other companies in a architecture that will be heterogeneous across maybe in an enterprise or so. So it's fantastic to hear there's so many career opportunities in the space. Let me shift gears a little bit about sort of partners and alliances and go into sort of customer value. And so as you look at go-to-market, alliances, partnerships, and all of these things sort of come to a head in terms of how do we create customer value? Tell us a little bit more about how do you see customer value being created, especially as you work with customers and you take kind of the vendor or the company's technology, and then you take partners' capabilities, put those things together, create value. How do you see value getting created for customers?
Yeah, I think, you asked a little bit about go-to-market.
Yep.
If you look at go-to-market, I think it's around, how do you have like this game plan for reaching and serving the right customers, in the right markets through the right channels with the right products, with the right value proposition. It's kind of a long-winded answer for go-to-market, but also I think it's around creating those powerful, high-quality customer experiences, I would say. But then customer value, right? If you look at customer value, it's more about that perception, of what a product or service is worth to a customer versus the possible alternatives. And worth means, whether the customer feels that they receive the benefits or services over what they paid, right? So are they realizing, incremental benefits or services over what, the perception of what they paid, I think is really important. So for example, at WorkSpan, we have a network success team here. So we really focused on customer value, because if the customer purchases ecosystem cloud and is deploying it, for, a joint solution or with a set of partners, they really need to see incremental value quickly. And so we have a network success team that is assigned to the customer that helps them implement that particular use case or use cases, trains them on the platform, and then enables the team that will be using it so that they can quickly use it, incorporate it into their kind of daily workflow. And so that change management, that barrier to use is really lowered. So they can see that, that value creation, or, through faster delivering solutions that are faster, or more quickly introduced, pipeline, is accelerated, joint wins or customers, wins are achieved faster, and that they're working in more of a, in a one motion kind of aspect. So that network team is really critical, I would say.
That's great. And it's really great to hear about customer value and the benefit it drives for the customer, creates an ROI based on their cost. And it creates, incremental value on top of what the customer was experiencing earlier, creates more delightful customer experiences. That's fantastic. So thank you for those insights.
Sure.
And are there any war stories that you'd like to share? Anything that comes to mind in terms of customer value or go-to-market?
So I'll just give you an example. I still do a lot of public speaking at different events, but this was a business week conference that I was attending representing Cisco, pretty high profile. And I was speaking on sort of the art of compete and collaborate as it related to the Cisco HP alliance. Okay. It was a great alliance, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue to us, more to them. I was asked, and this was about, how we better serve our customers and how do we create value together as an alliance. And I was asked if that I was willing to admit that sometimes alliances fail. Because we had sort of transitioned the alliance from a really competitive, a real cooperative, not a lot of overlap. But then as we made acquisitions, as HP made acquisitions, they had, we had this ongoing overlap between the two companies. And so I said, they interpreted that I said that, yeah, sometimes alliances fail. And so they associated that, they said, for the first time, we now see that an executive is willing to admit that alliances fail. But what I should have said is that sometimes it's appropriate to exit an alliance when the competitive overlap outweighs the collaboration benefits. So my comments were taken a little bit out of context. The headline, was there, representing referencing our highly successful HP alliance. PR was up in arms. We had to issue a revision to my comments to make sure that our customers would continue to realize the value of the Cisco HP alliance.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a pretty good headline. They wanted a really good headline to attach to someone that would be controversial. but even the headline says that an executive is willing to admit that alliances fail, but in the body it said sometimes it may be necessary to exit an alliance. So they took it a little bit out of context, but just that was we had to do some damage control with HP and also with our PR firm, and then reassure customers that we were still doing things as normal. So a little bit of a challenge, but we got through it just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes these challenges brings people closer together and creates better partnerships.
Yes,
and sometimes you had to go through the dip.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great story right there, Greg. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And why don't we shift gears one more time and get into a favorites game?
Yeah, sure.
And would love to know a little bit more about you, Greg, here.
Yes.
And in this favorite game, so we're going to ask you what's your favorite thing and why? And we'll start with your favorite app.
Okay. I was going to tell you, can I tell you something else that's my favorite in advance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My favorite game or my favorite thing to do is play golf. I'm an avid golfer. I think, if you look at some of the great golfers over time, like Bobby Jones, who was an amateur his whole life, really was kind of even the founder of the Grand Slam of Augusta National and the Masters tournament. Pretty amazing. And I've just been an avid golfer my entire life and just loved the game. And Bobby Jones said, competitive golf is played mainly on a 5.5-inch course, the space between your ears. And so, no round is the same. Each course is unique and amazing, et cetera. But my favorite, I'll get to my favorite app. My favorite app, it's pretty simple. I love LinkedIn. I'm an avid LinkedIn user. I think the ability to connect and collaborate and network, and engage in meaningful conversations, with professionals across the spectrum is pretty amazing. It's allowed us and me personally to sort of extend my network. Every new job that I've secured has been through my network on LinkedIn and through past relationships. So with LinkedIn, you're able to explore partnering opportunities, learn new skills, keep track of the latest trends. I think you can share your voice and your point of view and allow others to react to it. I think it's an amazing platform, and I love participating in LinkedIn.
Oh, absolutely. And I really do think that LinkedIn has created an unbelievable networking opportunity for all of us. And quite frankly, it's an indispensable tool now. Like as part of your profession, you just need to have LinkedIn. It doesn't matter if you're in sales or operations or it does not matter. Everybody needs to be on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. It's critical to, I think, a company and to an individual success in their career. No question.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good. Well, we'll go to the next favorites. And this one is about your favorite book.
Yes. I thought a little bit about this. I'm a big Stephen R. Covey fan. Actually, I grew up in Provo, Utah, where Stephen R. Covey lived, and I grew up with some of his kids, his children.
Oh, very cool.
And so I was really intrigued by the 7 habits of highly effective people. I think if you look about the book talks a lot about effectiveness, that balance of how do you obtain desirable results with caring for that which produces those results. And he talks a little bit about there's 3 categories of the 7 habits around independence, moving from dependence to dependence, that self-mastery, and then interdependence, working with others, and then that that art of continual improvement, right, in both the personal and interpersonal spheres of influence. So I really like the Covey 7 habits. I've tried to incorporate some of those habits in my own life, and it's been really helpful for me in my personal relationships with family and friends, but also in my career, in the broader realm. So
yeah, it's a must-have for anyone's personal library.
Yes,
and definitely recommend it as well.
Yep.
Moving on to the next favorites category. Greg, do you have a quote that you like personally? You put it up on your wall or your closet, or you would like to see it on a billboard on Highway 101 or pick your favorite freeway. Mine is 680, but for other reasons.
Absolutely. 101's better. Yes. So there's a couple of quotes. Let me give you two. One is from Steve Jobs. You know, we all know who Steve Jobs is. He says, focus means saying no to the 100 other good things. I really like that, right? There's so many good things you can pursue and that are maybe deserving of your attention and energy and investment, but really focus on doing some things really well, I think is really critical. And I really like, I'm a big, actually, Helen Keller fan. I really admire her life and just sort of the challenges that she faced and what she overcame to really contribute and to be a force for good in society. She said that character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. So we all face trials, we all face challenges. You know, even, you know, people that you think are highly successful, everyone goes through challenging circumstances and trials. Is how do you best overcome those challenges and trials, how they strengthen your character and your perseverance, and how do you still be inspired and achieve success, I think is really, really, really important. So I really like, you know, what Helen Keller said and just her own personal example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's super deep.
Yeah,
Greg.
it's a little bit deep.
and I love that. I love your commentary on that, which is everyone goes through dips and valleys, and how you emerge from that and how you pull yourself up and actually emerge as a confident person, as ambitious, as someone who wants to create value for others and all of those good things. But going through the dip, it doesn't feel that good. But once you emerge from it, it actually feels much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
I've got a couple. I love fast food, In-N-Out Burger as an iconic, you know, just go-to place for me. But then there's a great little sort of restaurant in my hometown in Provo, Utah called Dolce Vita. It's an Italian family-owned business. And just, you know, the food is made with such care and authenticity, and it's family-owned. My wife and I have developed, you know, personal relationships with the owners there, and we go there often to just for, you know, a nice dinner, and really a good standby for just enjoying, you know, great Italian fare.
Oh, that sounds really good.
And if you ask me about my favorite drink, I would say Diet Coke. Just like, I mean, John Chambers was, you know, I think he's still an avid Diet Coke drinker. I call it the breakfast of champions. I do love a Diet Coke, you know, a couple a day. Helps get me through the day, but I think it's a good fuel to helping continue.
That's awesome. Is there a certain caffeine level that you aspire to every day?
You know, I've tried to lower my caffeine sort of intake over time. I used to be a little bit higher on the caffeine scale, but now it's lower. I'm a little bit more balanced on that, but I still like it, you know, a couple times a day.
I like to indulge. I like it.
Yes.
Greg, as you look at your career journey, you know, are there some strategies and approaches that have helped you? And when you think of it, like, for example, it could be your morning routine, or it could be the way you prepare for certain things. Like, when you look back, are there things that have really helped you that you would like to share with Career Nation?
Sure. A couple of things. I always say, you know, always prepare for the unexpected if you can. Because things can, you know, things don't always happen the way you expect them to. So, you know, give yourself the opportunity to act on something even as it appears real time. That's kind of the way the Huawei opportunity came to me. Is, you know, an opportunity came and presented itself. I was prepared to make a decision quickly on it and, you know, acted on it, you know, just kind of going on, you know, the opportunity, but also what I felt like was a good next phase in my career. So just always be kind of present around, you know, prepare for the unexpected. And then when those opportunities present itself, be able to act on that. A couple other things I would say is I think I really value personal relationships. They really matter. So, being deeply loyal to friends, I care about the well-being of others and how do they achieve success. So I'm always available. I try to be available to someone in need, never be too busy that you can't help someone who needs something in the moment. And some things you just can't put off. You have to address immediately if the opportunity is there and you feel like you need to act. I think face-to-face meetings really matter. The ability to connect, collaborate, and build mutual trust in real time is really important, I would say. I also love the energy of the office, especially in a startup. Everyone's working together. Sometimes we can walk on all over ourselves and get in each other's way, but I really like that we're working collaboratively, getting projects done, doing things that you don't expect to do when it may not be your role or job to do. But then also still needing that quiet solitude time to be able to think clearly and be creative, I think is important. And then I would say, be a mentor, be willing to share advice to someone in their own career, helping them overcome a challenge or a personal situation. One of my big, attributes is hire interns. Hire interns who are hungry for experience, give them tough projects, and they will amaze you. I hired an intern from the local kind of Mountain View High School here in the Bay Area, Kavya Shankar. She went on to Harvard. Is just an amazing leader. I think she's working in investment banking now. She created a social media marketing plan at Cisco for me at the time when social media marketing was really up and coming. We really needed a solid strategy. I gave her the assignment and she just blew this project out of the water, like a McKinsey like kind of deliverable. And really help us apply social media marketing into our digital strategy. And then I would say, just give back, right? Be able to volunteer on nonprofits or other organizations where you can add value and help others who are aspiring to be business leaders, help them, realize the potential and help them, fulfill their dreams. I would say that's a few areas of advice that I would offer.
Oh, that's great. That's a lot of nuggets there, right, Greg? We'll have to
yes, it is.
unpack that a little bit. One follow-up question to that I have is when you have like a big meeting, a big presentation, how do you prepare? Is there like you're about to present to a big partner or new alliance that's going to come up, or is there a method to the madness? Do you do you go through some homework? Tell us a little bit about sort of the secret sauce of Greg Fox.
Sure. I always try to understand who the audience is. Who am I presenting to? What are their core business challenges? What are their core top of mind issues? Right. Always try to map whatever I present and prepare in advance so that it really resonates and articulates with their care-abouts and what they need to hear. I do a lot of just research, market research, and then also just do a lot of, discussions with, people that have to weigh in or provide content into a big presentation where I'm dependent upon their contribution to make it meaningful. And I do a lot of rehearsals as well, kind of talking through the talk track with colleagues, even with some, mentors or peers to make sure that it resonates and that the talk flow is good. Then I try to think about what are some potential objections that the customer or the recipient may have and how to overcome those objections but trying to lead us to some tangible outcomes and next steps that are mutually beneficial for us and for them. And so that's kind of the way I look at, a big presentation. Prepare well, have your data intact, your talking points intact, know who your audience is, and then rehearse and practice. And then even though there may be unexpected, outcomes or, things that come out during the presentation, if you're prepared in that manner, it can usually go pretty well. And then have a supporting staff, that surrounds you to help you, be successful in the moment that you deliver the presentation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I love how your theme of prepare for the unexpected tied so nicely in with how to prepare for big presentations. I love those points,
Yeah.
especially about when we get into sort of, the talk track. I also loved your point about objections. Like, how can we better anticipate objections of your customers or partners and have a response ready? One of my mentors used to tell me that you don't need to answer every question, but you definitely need to respond to every question.
Yes.
And so that has definitely helped. And I love your topic of tangible outcomes. It's very important. Otherwise, you can just have a presentation, but what comes out of it is questionable.
Yes.
So that's a great point. Love it.
Good. I'm glad it was useful.
Yep. A little while ago, you mentioned about Huawei, and I wanted to sort of get your perspective on what's going on with China. And so you worked in China, and you work with Huawei. And so currently we've got, between the Trump administration and Beijing, there is, trade war, tariffs, um, accusations of security issues using Huawei equipment, et cetera. So how is that playing out in your opinion? What's sort of your perspective on this whole thing?
Yep. Great question. I'd have to say my 3.5 years at Huawei were some of the very best moments of my career. It was magical in a lot of ways. Going, to China, living there amongst, the Chinese people, embracing the culture, understanding how they do business, and then just seeing that commitment to excellence and that drive to succeed was amazing. So I think on the U.S.-China relationship front, there's this kind of race for technological leadership. If you look at 5G, autonomous driving, it's a little bit controversial. First off, let me just say, I don't think there should be any artificial barriers to trade or doing business. I think, it's best if trust and collaboration and fairness can exist that benefits all societies. But I think if you look at the role that technology plays, it plays a huge role in the GDP of nations. And so there's this race to develop, these emerging technologies to help raise, the level of, competitiveness, but also the standard of living in nations. Because I think there's a direct link of investments in ICT to an increase in the GDP of countries. And so, and I'll get to your question in a second, but if you look at these, the digital economy is growing faster than the regular economy, and that's all fueled through, data center, cloud, video, big data, mobility, 5G, IoT, and AI. And this 5G, is ushering in a new wave of, mobile connectivity, which allows, people to connect to data, experiences, and people in ways that they never thought possible. And so, that it's the foundation of things like remote surgery, IoT accessories, improved drone capabilities, autonomous driving, et cetera. And these lightning fast speeds and the ability to power these new technologies, and new augmented and virtual reality experiences are pretty amazing. So there's this competitiveness in the industry between, China and the US as to who can more quickly deliver the capabilities and the promises that 5G offer. And so that's where where we see a lot of the tension between US and China relations, is that who's best equipped to be able to offer the promise of 5G, because whoever leads in 5G will likely dominate, some of the, realize a lot of the economic benefits associated, with that. With that said, I think, that it's that balancing act, right? Trump has said, we don't want the U.S. to fall behind other nations like China in the effort to develop and roll out this technology. And then, there's this ongoing concern, the government has about, they talk about cybersecurity or, unsecure networks. how is some of the customer data compromised? Are there backdoors to the government? I would say, in my work, in all the work that I've done at Huawei and in the industry, I have not seen any tangible evidence that there are these backdoors or cybersecurity risks related to Chinese technology manufacturers, including Huawei, and that I think this is just, it's a race for developing the technology more quickly than the other to try to gain advantage over one another, to be able to reap the the economic rewards associated with that. So I'm hopeful that there will be resolution, that companies can choose the best technology options that they have available, that the networks are secure, that there isn't these undermining kinds of policies or compromising of customer data that could be used by foreign governments for their own advantage. And so I'm optimistic about where this is at today, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of building better ties, building better relationships, building better trust between nations. And I hope that results in ultimately better experiences and better outcomes and prosperity for customers that adopt and see and realize the applications related to these technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope so too, that we get back to sort of normalcy, because whether it's US business or Chinese businesses, we all want a more predictable and a more stable business environment to do business, innovate, and create value. Absolutely. So I totally get it. So thank you for that commentary. I know it's a controversial topic, but I appreciate you providing those insights, especially from your vantage point.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. Hey, Greg, as we wrap up our episode here, are there any key messages that you would like to share with Career Nation? Anything, any major takeaways as they sort of think about their career development, whether they're early in career or later in career? What should they think about? What is your sort of parting message for them?
Well, thank you. I would say continue to invest in your personal skills and competencies. I'm kind of at the stage where I'm a little bit later in my career, but I've actually continued to invest in my own kind of personal career development. I just recently completed a Kellogg School digital marketing strategies, data automation, and AI and analytics course. And I'm engaged in a MIT Sloan online executive education course on IoT and the business implications and opportunities. I would say continue to invest in your own personal skills, your personal development, because I think you are personally responsible for your own development and your own career path. Even though you may have leaders and mentors around you that would advise you, you may have career opportunities within an existing company or opportunity outside. Ultimately, you are responsible for your own career path, your own opportunities that will come to you. I would say also, find ways to share your experience with others. When I was at Huawei, we had new employee orientation. And so, people that were coming from outside of China had a hard time adapting to the local culture, the local, aspects that were unique to Huawei, but also China. So I helped, based on my experience, I was able to present how to quickly adapt to the Huawei environment as part of the Huawei University, to helping others better acclimate and have better experiences, to, and learn from my pain points and my failings that I experienced. So I think always find ways to share your experience with others. Be open to sharing your career advice. Be a mentor to those around you. I think as you give back to others and you serve and help others succeed, you naturally receive more rewards yourself.
For sure. It's the law of karma.
Yeah, it's the law of karma. So I think helping others achieve success will lead to your own personal benefit and personal advantage. And never lose sight of that. I think if you're inwardly focused, more just concerned about yourself, you may find some advancements in career, but ultimately, I don't think you get to where you need to or where the potential lies unless you give back and serve others in a meaningful way.
Oh, that's so wonderful. What a great way to end this episode, Greg.
Well, thank you.
Greg, thank you so much for your insights and your perspectives. This was super valuable. And hopefully we'll see you around in the Bay Area or on the show next time.
Absolutely. Abhijit, thank you so much. And to all of Career Nation for the great opportunity to speak with you today. Best of success to each of you and to your listeners in their own personal career journeys. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.